Hi, Mystery Recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain an episode from Black Mirror called Be Right Back. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The story opens as a young couple, Ash and Martha, stop at a gas station. Ash is in a rental van mindlessly scrolling through his phone while listening to the news on the radio. Among several other stories, the radio talks about a new breakthrough. Apparently, scientists have successfully tested synthetic flesh that can develop intelligence through software. This treatment is aimed at helping multiple amputees back on their feet. Meanwhile, Martha makes her way towards the van with a cup of coffee in each of her hands. She knocks on the car's window, calling for Ash to open the door, but he's so busy scrolling his phone that he doesn't seem to notice her. Only after a good few minutes does he startle out of his scrolling and lets her in. Once inside, Martha reprimands him for being too mindless to his surroundings, and even orders him to put his phone in the glove box. In the next scene, they arrive at a quaint old house in the countryside. After they move all their stuff from the van, the duo settles in and Ash goes back to scrolling. Martha, who is preparing to cook dinner, makes him choose between tomatoes or roasted tomatoes, but she notices that Ash isn't paying full attention again, so she throws a towel at him and jokingly says it was to check if he's still solid. Martha complains that he keeps vanishing with his phone and labels the machine as a thief. She then leaves her cooking for a while and sits beside her boyfriend. Ash reveals that he is sharing an old photo of himself, where he is a young boy with long ginger hair. He thinks that his friends online will find it funny, but Martha disagrees. He looked like a loser then, honey. Seconds later, Ash begins to detail the day the photo was taken, as he remembers it to be anything but funny. It was the first time his family had gone for an outing. After the death of his younger brother Jack, the family had gone to a safari park, and several monkeys got on top of their car. Despite this, everyone stayed quiet, as if all the joy in their lives was sucked away after Jack's death. Ash remembers that it was his mother who drove them home, which was surprising because she usually hated driving. The next morning, she had taken all of Jack's photos off the wall and hid them in the attic. It was her way of dealing with her trauma, as she had done the same when Dad passed away. She left just one photo in the entire home, the photo of Ash, in which she was faking his smile. Moved by her lover's story, Martha kisses him on the forehead. They then head to the bedroom and end up having passionate intercourse. Well, I should talk about my trauma more often, thinks Ash. The following day, Ash tells Martha to get dressed so they can return the van on time. They need to return it by 2 p.m., or else the company will charge them for a whole extra day. However, Martha says she won't be able to join him for the trip, as she got a new task early that morning, and the deadline is the very same day. This upsets Ash a bit, but he simply bids her goodbye and leaves in the van. It is then revealed that Martha works as an illustrator. The whole afternoon, she continues her work with the utmost dedication. Evening comes, but she's still not finished with what she's doing. In the meantime, Martha is getting a bit bothered, as Ash hasn't returned home yet. She tries calling him, but he doesn't answer any of them. A worried Martha then calls customer service of the company from which they rented the van. To her horror, they reveal that Ash has not delivered the van yet. Martha freaks out and immediately contacts her sister, explaining the entire situation to her. She fears that something really bad might have happened to her lover. At this moment, a police car stops in front of their house. Martha cautiously opens the door, fully aware that her worst nightmare has come true, that Ash has died in an accident. The scene then shifts to the day of Ash's funeral. A deeply distraught Martha sits down beside her friend Sarah. The latter expresses her genuine amazement at what happened, as she too lost her husband to an accident several years ago. She also tells Martha she can help her sign up for a program that may be able to help her cope with the loss of her lover. An irritated Martha tells her to stop, but Sarah keeps babbling about the program. Having had enough, Martha loses her temper and shouts at her friend. Following this, she goes home alone and cleans the whole house. She then goes to the attic and observes some of Ash's old family pictures. As time passes, Martha's daily life continues, but it's not the same anymore. One day, she checks her email and learns that Sarah has signed her up for the program, despite not having her permission. Martha also receives a message from the program's artificial intelligence, who's posing as Ash. Enraged, she calls Sarah and tells her it's wrong to use the likeliness of someone who has passed away, but Sarah remains adamant that it helps cope with the grief. The following day, as Martha is engrossed in her work, she suddenly feels the urge to puke. After doing so, she tries a pregnancy test, which comes out positive. Scared and alone, she calls her sister Naomi, but the latter doesn't answer as she's busy with her own kids. The entire day, Martha keeps on crying as she feels directionless and doesn't know what to do. But this is when she remembers the app that Sarah told her about. Desperate for someone to talk to, she tries it and clicks on Touch to Talk. To her utter surprise, Ash greets her lovingly and even makes a joke. This makes Martha burst into tears as the messages feel so genuine and real. She tells this virtual Ash that she's pregnant with his child. When he replies that he wished he was with her at the moment, she cries even more. After a while, Martha calms down and she receives a call from Naomi. Her sister offers to come over, but Martha stops her, reassuring her that she's fine. Weeks pass by and Martha's life drastically improves. She hikes alone, all the while talking with Ash on her phone. She tells him a story about their memories of hiking and how they first met. A few days later, Martha has her ultrasound and records the process to send it to Ash's system. After the procedure is done, they talk, while Martha nervously fixes her sweater. Suddenly, she drops her phone and begins to panic. She tries to talk with Ash, but his voice isn't clear. This makes her incredibly anxious, and she rushes home to charge her phone. Fortunately, Ash calls from the other side and assures her that he's not going anywhere. He also says that they can take it to another level, but it will be expensive. In the next scene, a massive package for Martha arrives. She slowly opens it up and sees several sections of artificial flesh. This creeps her out a bit, but she asks for Ash's help. She then takes a photo of the package and feeds it into the app. Shortly after, Ash instructs Martha to get the bath ready and drop the package there. He then tells her everything she must do and eventually asks her to leave the bathroom and wait. After waiting for a good few hours, Martha hears something from the bathroom. She slowly approaches where the sound is coming from, only to see that the package she bought has become a real human. Ash. He appears in front of her and asks her to lend him some clothes. Martha cannot believe what she's seeing and just remains there in shock. After some time, she slowly touches him and realizes it feels like human Ash. Martha then checks every part of him and learns that everything is just in the right place. This overwhelms her with emotions, and she once again begins to cry. The following morning, Martha wakes up and gets surprised to see Ash beside her. Turns out they spent the entire night together. Later, while working in her office, Ash approaches her and asks if she needs coffee, but Martha refuses and apologizes as she still can't wrap her head around the fact that her lover has returned. She tells the robot that she needs time to get used to it. One afternoon, Naomi unexpectedly arrives at the front door. This is because her sister has not been answering her calls for quite some time. Inside, Martha hears the knocks and hurriedly asks the android Ash to hide in the bathroom. She is still attempting to come to grips with his existence and is not sure if she should introduce him to anyone just yet. The two sisters then spend the whole day together, talking about various topics. Naomi says that she's happy Martha is moving on because she noticed men's clothing in the restroom, but this disturbs Martha as she feels she's betraying the memory of her late lover by being intimate with his fictitious version. After Naomi leaves, Martha tells Ash about the entire conversation she had with her sister. She reveals that although Naomi feels like she has moved on, in reality, she is still stuck with the memories of her dead lover, and with each passing day, the difference between the real Ash and the fake one become even more pronounced in her head. The android version does not require food or sleep. His skin appears to be overly smooth, and he always behaves like the best version of real Ash. Martha is even bothered by the fact that this version appears to be missing a mole on his clavicle. As weeks pass by, Martha gets even more frustrated at this new Ash. He obeys everything she says, like a robot, and she starts missing all the arguments she used to have with her late lover. When Martha cannot hold back her emotions, she shouts at the clone to leave the house. As if to prove her point, android Ash obliges without any arguments and goes outside. The following day, Martha sees him standing in the middle of their yard. She inquires why he doesn't go away, to which he explains that he must remain within 25 meters of his activation point, which is the bath. He then asks Martha if he can get inside, to which she agrees. That afternoon, she decides to take Clone Ash for a drive to the high mountains. She leads him to the top and abruptly asks him to jump off the cliff, just as the robot prepares to do so. Martha yells that the real Ash would have been scared. Upon hearing this, the clone acts frightened and starts begging that he doesn't want to die, but this frustrates Martha even more, as she knows the robot is simply processing the performances of Ash, but is nothing like him. In the final scene, the movie cuts to several years later. Martha's daughter daughter has now grown up, and today is her birthday. While cutting the cake, she requests that a slice be set aside for Ash. Martha refuses at first, but upon her daughter's insistence, she eventually gives in. Later, the little girl brings the cake to his shabby attic, where Ash stays. The clown is pleased by it. Despite the fact that he doesn't eat, it is implied that Martha only lets her daughter talk to him on special